Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County, and this show is about Plymouth County real estate. This show is being taped in September, but we're reporting on August numbers at the Registry of Deeds. The headline for the month was August brings increases in all aspects of real estate activity. And I have a great guest on the show, Bob Gleason, a realtor with Boston Connect Real Estate. We'll talk a little bit about some of the Plymouth County history later in the show, but let's get right into the numbers and some of the data you're going to see. A bar chart come up relative to recordings at the registry, starting with deeds. We had a lot of deeds recorded at the registry in August, 1,178 compared to 1,028 in July. So 17% more than last July. And year to date, we're up 17% over the first 8 months of the year. The next document you're going to see is an image of mortgages. Mortgages continue to come in at a very high rate. There were 2,400 mortgages recorded in August, more than the 2008 in July, up 29% compared to last August, and year-to-date up 7%. Despite all the news you're hearing coming across TV and radio relative to the Federal Reserve, rates are still very, very low, and people are taking advantage of historic low interest rates to buy property or to refinance their loans and save themselves some money, but that window is closing and don't miss it. We still follow very closely foreclosure issues. A foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken title back from someone. You'll see a bar chart of foreclosure deeds. There were 71 foreclosure deeds recorded in August, more than the 59 in July, 31% higher than last August, and unfortunately with 8 months of data, we're 34% higher in terms of foreclosures across Plymouth County than last year at this time. The next bar chart you're going to see are foreclosure notices. A foreclosure notice is the first document that we see at the Registry of Deeds that shows someone is facing difficulty. There were 141 foreclosures, notices recorded in August, more than the 81 in July, 66% more than last August, and up 26%. Many lenders are catching up with people that have been delinquent for years. You're going to see a quick listing of foreclosures and orders of notice by town. Brockton, Plymouth, and Wareham continue to be the higher foreclosure deeds and notices. Again, if you have trouble, don't wait. Go talk to a federally authorized counselor. Our training room at the registry is open again on October 6th. It's a free training on how to search our site. Call our office. It's on our website, which is PlymouthDeeds.org. We offer a property fraud alert for free. And there's a warning that we put out there. If anybody tries to reach you and ask you to pay $83 for a certified copy of your deed, don't do it. It's a scam. If you go to our office, you can get it for $1 a page. And we've recently increased our access to documents by our link project is now all the way back to 1910. My guest coming up on the show is Bob Gleason, a realtor with Boston Connect Real Estate, who will be talking about the Plymouth County real estate market. So we'll see you in the next segment.
Got a quarter?
Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley, and I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, we've had commercial real estate brokers, we've had assessors, we've had anyone involved in the real estate market. But nobody knows the real estate market like a realtor. Realtors are out there every day talking about what's going on in the market, meeting their clients, and doing their job. And I have a great friend and a great realtor with me today, Bob Gleason. Bob.
Hey, John. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again, too. And thanks
buddy.
for coming on the show,
Oh, sure.
particularly in short notice.
It's just great. I love this.
Yeah, for our viewers, I happened to be working in the Plymouth office yesterday, and all of a sudden my assistant said, "Hey, you know who's here doing a closing? Bob Gleason." So I said, "Bob, I have a spot on my cable show. Would you be able to come?" And he said, "Of course."
Yes, it's a great opportunity to
Yeah.
talk about what's going on in the market and what we do at Boston Connect and how we go about doing our business.
Yeah, so for our viewers' edification, why don't you tell me in them how you got into the real estate market?
Well, it's a pretty interesting story. My daughter-in-law, Cheryl, was working for Jack Conway going on almost 10 years ago, and she was doing quite well. And she was asked if she wanted to work at a community of 55 and over community down here in Plymouth. And she accepted that, and she went down there. And my son suggested to me, "Dad, why don't you go get your real estate license and see if you can work in that development and see what you can do." So I did. And that was in 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. And we all know what happened with the market. And so it kind of dried up, and I kind of got away from, excuse me, doing anything in real estate. But I kept my license, and I was continuing to go for my continuing education every 2 years. It's a requirement. And I was doing that. And about 3.5 years ago, after finishing it, I said, "Gee whiz, why am I doing this if I'm not going to use my license? I have contacts, I know people." So I reached out to Sharon McNamara, the broker owner at Boston Connect, at my daughter-in-law Cheryl's suggestion. And I interviewed with her, and at the time, I think there was about a dozen or so agents working for her. Now today, it's up to over 45. So it's the office itself has done very well. The company is doing very well. And as a matter of fact, today is the grand opening of our Bridgewater office. And Sharon maintains the office in Pembroke, and she's trying to open an office or planning on opening an office in Dorchester, which is where she's from.
Sure, we've heard those stories.
Yes, yeah. So that's how I got started with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sharon's a great realtor. She's been on this show a number of times, and I actually have been on her radio show on WATD on Saturday mornings,
Right.
as I know you have.
Yes, the radio shows are a lot of fun. A lot of knowledge comes out of those, a lot of information from the guests that she has, similar to the guests that you have here too, with surveyors and people that take care of houses and home inspectors, electricians, gutter people, roof people. So she definitely is in tune with what a buyer and a seller needs to know about on her show on Saturdays. And obviously the realtors are very important people they have on this. So she has a lot of good active realtors and people that work hard in the industry supporting realtors. Attorneys too, obviously, loan people and so on.
Yeah, so I know you live in the town of Kingston,
I do, yes.
and this show covers Plymouth, Kingston, Duxbury, and Pembroke.
Right.
And I know that is certainly within your service area.
Absolutely. The name of the company is Boston Connect Real Estate, and Sharon came up with that name because she wanted to connect the South Shore with Boston. So we stretch from anywhere in the South Shore up to Boston. We have had many listings and closings of property in the Hull area, in Quincy, in Boston, all along the South Shore. obviously in Pembroke and Duxbury and Kingston and Halifax, to name a few of the towns too. So we have a good representation on the South Shore. And with the opening of the new office in Bridgewater, now that's going to stretch the company out to Rainham and the Bridgewaters and Taunton area too.
So why don't we take this moment, why don't you just give our viewers your contact information?
Sure. My phone number is 781-856-6714, and my email address is bobgleason@bostonconnect.com.
So let's talk a little bit about the current state of the real estate market. And I know you were doing a closing yesterday in Plymouth, so you have a good feel for what's going on currently. I reported early in the show that sales are still way up, and we're having a very good year with recordings. The market is good, maybe not exactly where it was many years ago before the crash, but it's certainly better off than it was over the last 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
How's your experience, Pat?
My experience with and especially the office experience, is that houses are, on average, are staying on the market for, I suppose, about 90 to 120 days now. It's still considered a seller's market because inventory is low, as well as interest rates are still fairly low for people. But what's interesting is that just because it's a seller's market doesn't mean that prices, in my opinion anyway, are overly inflated over what they should be. It's just that the inventory is low right now, which makes the choice of houses or condominiums or whatever it is folks are looking to move into a little bit more difficult, because there's just not that many. A lot of houses, a lot of properties, I make the joke that, excuse me, I make the joke that it sells in 20 minutes, because you put a house on the market in parts of Brockton, for example, and multiple offers come in almost immediately at reasonable prices.
So we're in a little bit of transition coming out of the summer and getting into a fall season prior to winters. And, as we've said in the show before, real estate is pretty seasonal in New England and in Massachusetts. When you have the snow, it's harder to get people out of their houses and show houses.
Yes.
But we're coming out of a pretty strong summer from what we've seen at the registry. Any particular things that start to shift with your approach to real estate?
Well, I think my belief is that sellers and buyers, one of the important traits that they have to have, I think, is expectations and being level-headed about what they think that their house is worth or what they should be paying for a house. Reasonableness is what's really an important aspect of it, in my opinion. As it's been said, I'm sure, several times before, a seller feels their house is worth a whole lot more because they've spent a lot of time there, they've done improvements, they've had family gatherings over the years, and it's very special to a seller. And so because of all those good vibes that they get with a particular piece of property, they think that their prices of their houses are going to be a lot more than what it really is. And a seller is the same, is not the same thing, it's just like totally opposite. Yeah, it's a nice house, but the bathroom needs to be done. I don't like the color of this. The roof needs to be done, and everything just swaps their enthusiasm about buying it. Obviously, the seller wants the top dollar. The buyer wants to get it for a bargain. So I think that the most important part about the whole thing is being reasonable about it, and let the numbers speak for what the price of the house should be listed at. If we do a competitive market analysis on all of our listings, and we even look at the same data for a house that's being sold if we're representing a buyer. We want to know if, in fact, it's overpriced, underpriced, where it's priced for that particular buyer. So it's very important to have statistics. You have to go through the numbers. You have to find similar and like kinds of properties in order to be able to come to a determination of what the price or the fair market value of that piece of property is. And it takes some time. It takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of expertise to be able to come up with something similar to what an appraiser does, only they have different formulas and they do things differently. So this time of the year, I think, is a great time of the year to do it. Most of the houses and the lawns and landscaping on properties right now are looking the best that they're going to look.
Right, they are.
Yeah, because we had
The dryness is going away a little bit because of the cool weather, not so much from rain.
Right, exactly,
Right.
exactly right. And so places are looking good now. So I always say to my clients that I think the most important thing, if you go to a list of houses, you want the house to look like you would want to buy it. You want to feel most comfortable with it. You want to do the painting that's required, do any repairs on the house that's required. And one of the things that I recommend doing also before listing a house is do a home inspection for your own purposes. Now you know what you're up against. A buyer is going to come in, make an offer. They have 10 days to have that home inspected. And their inspector is going to come in and find things, asbestos, mold, things like that, bad electrical boxes and so on. If you know all of these things going into listing the property, you have that opportunity to repair those things before somebody else comes in. It's not a lot of money to give yourself that added assurance that I already had it inspected and I know what the pros and the cons are about the entire property. So you're in a better position to be able to say, my house is listed for $400,000, and I know it's worth $400,000 because my realtor told me that, did an in-depth evaluation of it, the similar and like-kind properties in the area, my neighborhood, what the house looks like, the size of the rooms, number of bedrooms, and so on. So now you have a much better chance of selling your property going forward.
That's great. So if I were a person who saw you in the show or saw you this morning in the neighborhood, and I called you and said, look, I want to list my house, what would be the first steps you'd be doing with that person, contractually, all those types of things?
Personally, I like to get to know somebody
Yeah.
a little bit. I want to know what the history of where they have lived for a while. They have certain goals. I want to know what their goals and their aspirations are, what they feel the market is going to be worth. Sometimes I'll go with a CMA, a market analysis for somebody. Everybody wants to talk about their real estate. Everybody wants to know what their house is worth. The bottom line is, as far as worth goes, is what a willing buyer is going to pay a willing seller. That's what it's worth. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, the numbers are concrete. They're not going. They do shift as time goes on, but the numbers are what the numbers are, and we really can't get away from that. So I'll spend some time with some folks. I'll go through the house with them. They'll point out the features of the house that are most important to them. I ask a lot of questions about where it is that they're going to. Mm-hmm. What's the period of time? The condition of the house in their opinion. The school district, if I can get some information about that. The neighborhood, people want to live in a good neighborhood. So things of that nature. I like to get in and get to know somebody first. It's a huge transaction in anybody's lifetime.
Right.
You're talking about moving hundreds of thousands of dollars from one pocket to another. You want to be sure that they're dealing with somebody that they can trust, and there's understanding about what it is that he or she does for that. There's so many things that go on in real estate that clients never see, and that's because we talk to each other, we argue with each other sometimes. There's attorneys involved, there's banks involved. There's a lot.
And there's a
that's
stage
involved
they
in it.
actually sign a document for a listing?
Not usually on the
Okay.
on the first.
Okay.
Not usually on the first appointment.
Okay,
They have to think about it too.
okay, sure.
They have to feel, yeah, I can work with this guy for the next
Okay.
6 months or
Yep,
whatever period of time the listing is. Generally, a listing is for 6 months.
good, good.
Anything shorter than that, you're just getting started.
And then there is a point that they actually sign a listing
Oh, sure.
agreement.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's a standard form.
A listing, yes, it's a standard form, and everything in that is spelled out in terms of the marketing approach that we're going to take, where we're going to advertise it, how we're going to advertise it, if we'll do open houses, if a realtor can just go there on his own. Do you want accompanied showings? Commissions are filled out in there too, and the period of time for the listing agreement. And there's no fee for that.
Right.
There is no fee for that. And there's also some documents that need to be signed saying that we represent the seller if it's for a listing.
To establish the duty, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And there are some times where you can represent the seller and the buyer at the same time, dual agency. And that can be difficult. I've done it a few times, always successfully. And it can work out, but again, people have to be reasonable about their expectations. We can't have people flying off the handle really easily, and frustration is going to come to it. Is going to come and will be involved in it. There's always something that you never expect is going to happen, and it happens. In your wildest dreams, I've had things that just come up, and you say, "Where'd that come from?"
Well, I'm getting the signal that we could go on for a long time. We
Yeah.
never got to the effect on interest rates and
Right.
where you saw the market going, but that'll be a topic for another day. But if you want to share your contact information
Sure.
one more time
Yeah,
for,
sure.
for the viewers.
Yeah, my name is Bob Gleason. I'm a full-time realtor at Boston Connect Real Estate. We're located in Pembroke, opening a new office today in Bridgewater. I'm also a senior real estate specialist, so I deal with seniors. My phone number is 781-856-6714. My email is bobgleason@bostonconnect.com.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you, John, very
Always
much.
good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you, too.
Thank you to Bob Gleason from Boston Connect Realty. He does a great job at his job at explaining the role of realtors and trying to make people through this show be a little more comfortable when they first reach out to a realtor if they're listing their property. I thought he did a great job. This segment of the show, we always try to do something a little lighter in nature, and we do talk about some of our history in Plymouth County. First of all, the holidays in September. Labor Day, September 11th, was a big celebration, the 15th anniversary of 9/11. Fall begins on the 22nd, and some of our great history I want to bring up in some of the images. We've had a great, important month historically in Plymouth County, the 300th anniversary of Boston Light. Boston Light is actually part of Hull, and they celebrated not only the 300th anniversary of Boston Light, America's first lighthouse, and the celebration of the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service. There's just, on that day, they also celebrated a gentleman from Marshfield by the way of Edward Rowe Snow. You'll see an image about him from our notable land record collection. And he was a writer who did a lot of writing about the Boston Harbor Islands. He wrote about pirates, buccaneers, and he was one of the flying Santas, people that would fly a plane over the Harbor Islands and bring presents for the people that lived on the islands that weren't that accessible to get presents around the holidays and Christmas time. And he certainly was a dedicated preservationist of the Boston Harbor Islands. I actually attended a program on George's Island that celebrated him, Boston Light, and just a beautiful day out there. If you ever have a chance to get out to any of the Boston Harbor Islands, it's a great trip. And I know that Hull did a celebration this month relative to the history of Boston Light. Although Boston takes a lot of credit for it under the name of Boston Light, it is a Plymouth County property within the jurisdiction of the town of Hull, and certainly one of Hull's most famous individuals, Captain Joshua James, America's most famous lifesaver. And I know the Hull Life Saving Museum was involved in that event when they celebrated the 300th anniversary of Boston Light. It's a great place to visit, a museum that a lot of people don't really think about. If you ever get a chance to go down there, please do so. And as we are into fall, we, at the time of the taping of this show, got through the first Patriots victory without Tom Brady. And I want to bring us back to an era prior to Tom Brady, a gentleman who lived in Plymouth County, Drew Bledsoe. He was a New England Patriots quarterback that unfortunately lost his job when he was injured to Tom Brady, and there's a lot of people joking around now that because of the recent success of the Patriot, that Tom Brady might lose his position. And while we certainly doubt that, we do remember Drew Bledsoe. He was a Patriots quarterback from '93 to 2001, and he's in the Patriots Hall of Fame. He led them to their first postseason appearance in 8 years and was named to the Pro Bowl. A well-recognized person who went on to play for the Buffalo Bills and now has a successful private sector career. Thank you to the folks here at PAC TV, David and Antoine, in particular for allowing us to share our information. Lorna Green Baker from our office and Christine Richards, and again Bob Gleason for coming on the show. It's our ability to share information about what's happening in the Plymouth County marketplace. Certainly for most people, their most valuable asset. Have a great fall, and I'll see you next month.